Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Troping the Real Girl. It recently came to my attention that Angie Thomas, New York Times bestselling author of The Hate You Give, super critically acclaimed, like it blew up last year like the perfect moment. She has a new sophomore novel coming out in June, and this is all like news to me, but it's good news. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that new project today, as well as give a review of The Hate You Give, because I never got a chance to, and I had read it like a couple weeks ago, and so I just been sort of sitting on it, kind of marinating in it, so I got stuff to get off my chest about it. So this new project on the come up, it's basically about this girl named Bree. She's a teenager. She lives in Garden Heights, which is set in the same universe as The Hate You Give. So she's a young rapper, up and coming, on the come up, you know. So her family is like struggling to put food on the table, bills are piling up, and so she has to find a way to make her art, you know, her hustle, whatever, a means to help her family out. And we all have sort of been there at one time or another where we want to make our talents work for us. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Angie Thomas basically talked about this book as far as the pressure that she's had on her to complete this novel, because, you know, it's like her follow-up to like a really big project that did incredibly well. And then she also talks about the themes in the book that she touches on. And for this new project, I believe she employed the same cover artist for the jacket of the novel, Angela Coker. I hope I'm saying that right. Yeah, so I don't know, the style is super simplistic, very clean, and I think that both of the covers for The Hate You Give and On the Come Up achieve the same thing aesthetically, you know, like there's clean cover with an emphasis on the characters, you know, these young black girls, and the titles, which are just phrases like The Hate You Give or On the Come Up, that speak a lot about what the character is going through or some important aspect of their life. Okay, so I'm just gonna jump straight into my review about The Hate You Give, but I wouldn't really call it a review. I'm just gonna be like going through some notes and then shout out things that catch my attention. So the book is basically about Star Carter. She's a teenage girl. One night while she's on her way home from a house party, her and her friend are pulled over by a cop, and that altercation ends with her friend being shot by that police officer, basically in cold blood. This sets off a chain of events that will change her life forever. I'm just gonna start off by sort of breaking down different components of the story. So I'm gonna start with the characters. For me, I really identify with Star. Like, even though she's a teenage girl, I feel like this was the first time that I read a YA novel in a while that I could really connect to the protagonist in more ways than one. I don't think there was one point in this novel where I felt like I was frustrated with the decisions that Star was making. Like, I really empathize with her, and that's just like a testament to the way that Angie Thomas wrote her. So Star is a teenage girl. She worries a lot about what people think of her. More importantly to this story, she is trying to keep these two worlds of hers separate. Like, on one hand, she lives in Garden Heights, this neighborhood that is riddled with gang violence, and then her other world is basically her school. Her parents sent her and her brothers away to this private school in this suburban area. It's like a prep school, super rich neighborhood, affluent kids, affluent families, like pretty much majority white. She's got like friends and family on one side and friends and family on the other, so she feels like she has to code switch a lot, which is basically changing your voice or your mannerisms or your colloquialisms depending on your surroundings or who you're talking to. And I feel like a lot of black people and people of color have to do that I actually really liked a lot of the characters in the book. Like, I don't think there were a lot of throwaway characters. Particularly like her family, they feel like real people. Like her mother, her father, her family's blended too. So even though she's got like her mother and her father has another son, 7, from a previous relationship. But the thing that I liked was that her mother treated him like he was her own son. Star also has a boyfriend, Chris, and he's also an important part of this story. And if you've heard anything in the news about the making of this movie in the last couple of months, there's actually like a YouTuber. I don't really remember his name. You know what? I'm actually going to Google it. Yeah, like this kid is a YouTuber, and he was supposed to be playing Chris, but apparently there's a video out there that somebody dug up of him saying some real racist stuff about black people. It's kind of crazy because he's playing a character who's in a relationship with a black girl, and it's just like, what are you doing? I hate that I had to take the time out to look this up because I don't really care what his name is. That's his name. Oh my god. Yeah, Ken Lawley was fired from his role because he said some racist stuff. But that whole situation just reminds me of one of the characters in the book, actually, who I could not stand. And I'm probably going to get in spoiler territory here, but Star has a friend in the book named Hailey. Hailey? I feel like we all know a Hailey, or maybe we are a Hailey. Is her name Hailey? I swear her name is Hailey. Hailey. It is Hailey. Wow. I thought I was just being like, oh, Hailey. So Hailey's just one of those characters where it's like, she says things that you know that people say in real life, and it hits just a little bit close to home. And she gets upset with Star for Star pointing it out. And it's like a microaggression. Yes, you have to excuse me. I have no idea what I'm doing. That's another one of those themes in the book that just like really stood out to me, because it's just things that people experience all the time and they kind of brush off. You know, like people just make like side comments and they're not intentionally hurtful, but they're often kind of backhanded. So her friend Hailey basically eventually gets what's coming to her, and I'm glad that Angie wrote it that way. Another parallel that she draws in the book is between oppressive institutions. And you have the gangs in Garden Heights, and then you have the police officers, and those are both oppressive forces in Star's life and in her community. So you have members of both of those institutions who serve different purposes for the story, and I thought that it was really interesting how you could have someone like Star's father, and then you could have someone like King, who is an integral part of the King Lords, one of the most influential gangs in Garden Heights. So you've got both of them being parallels, both a good force and negative force in the community. On the police officer side, you have Cop 115, basically how Star identifies him by his badge number, like he's not a person. I thought that was really interesting too, because like the kid that he shot, how the media spins it is like this kid is a thug, and you identify him as a thug, and he doesn't have his own personhood, and all of like his history is erased. I thought it was really great that in this situation you had the perspective of Star, someone who witnessed this cop shoot down her friend, and she doesn't identify him as a person, she only sees him as a badge. And so you have that person versus a good force like her uncle Carlos, who is also a cop. He's a good influence in her life. And as far as Star's transformation, like I was just really happy to go on this journey with her. Like, as emotional as it was, like I enjoyed every single part of it. It's just like a trip of self-discovery for her. So there's this character named Miss Ofra, and she steps in as Star's attorney, and she's also an activist for these kinds of situations. And she tells Star at one point that she needs to start using her voice as a weapon. she has to stop being afraid, and that's her internal struggle. So I like what Miss Oprah says about Star having to use her voice as a weapon, because it becomes a powerful tool against this harmful narrative about Khalil's life, this story that gets spun in the media about who he was, him being a thug or whatever, him being a drug dealer, all those things that don't justify someone who is unarmed being shot down by someone who's supposed to protect and serve. Just to wrap up, I think that this book is extremely important because it serves to tell a story about a child who isn't just a hashtag. This story gives me closure, even though it's fictional. It's how we're able to see through Star's perspective about someone that she loved, their existence being snuffed out by a cop, someone who saw their black bodies as being valueless. Honestly, at the end of this book, I was crying because on the last page, she does this thing where she mentions the first names of a number of people who have been killed by cops or whose deaths have been police related. She asks us not to forget their names. Star herself, she promises to never be quiet. Off the strength of this book, I'm super excited for Angie Thomas's next project on the come up. You can pre-order it now, but it comes out on June 5th of this summer. So in the comments, tell me what you thought of The Hate You Give, and also tell me what you're most excited about for on the come up. Thanks for watching. Bye.